how to create that epic, suspenseful ambience, a sound you've heard in numerous big pictures over the years. And we're going to achieve that vibe using only Sonuscore products. To get started, find a deep pulse that's going to provide the drive that you need. For this track, we're going to dive into Dark Horizon and select Monster Steps. Choose a mod wheel setting and adjust the attack and release to your taste. Don't forget to write volume automation on it in order to build and release tension for your listeners. You can, of course, automate all other parameters mentioned to increase complexity. Next up, open Nordic Spheres with the preset Tornatrosk and mute layers 3 and 4. Make this sound really breathe using automation. To start adding tonal elements, just open time textures and give it a high note. As always, don't let it be static. Compose it. To make the sounds communicate better, we need contrast. For example, if you want to make a sound appear as extremely loud, surround it with quieter elements. In our case, we're going to achieve a sense of contrast by creating moments of impact that go against the atmospheres. Out of action strikes, hits, find a big boom and a quick percussive rise. Give it some extra strength by adding layers of the saw. This effect will work with almost all of the content in this instrument, so it's up to you which texture you're going to set the tone with. The next 3 elements are an example of how to intertwine different sounds to create musical motifs that don't consist of a sequence of pitches in the traditional way, but again are just composed textures. These elements are a big sustain out of the orchestral evil brass, blending into an ancient Duduk legato note. Both of them being finally interrupted with an evil brass flutter, automated to have a swelling effect. Speaking of motifs, on top of all of these brewing textures, write an intriguing melody line and give it to the ancient Duduk. Now this part leads into a big string chord, which we're going to foreshadow in order to establish a sense of conclusiveness. Throughout this piece, scatter single notes that overlap each other. This track uses the orchestra cello and violin harmonics on multiple tracks to give each note its own expression. To get that big string texture, give the basses a deep octave and the cello a 6th, putting the 3rd of your chord of choice at the top of the low strings. Next, add another 3rd an octave higher in the violins, and again an octave above using the harmonics technique. Layer it with some cello harmonics to add depth to this section. For some final touches, we're going to sneak in another note of the saw and a tremolo layer of the basses. Diving into the section after the big chord, we're going to introduce a new layer of Nordic Spheres. For this one, choose the preset Droppesteiner and mute layers 1 and 3. Don't just copy the automation from the other layer, give it its own role. Throughout the piece, bring back previously established elements for continuity, but try to alter their form and sequential appearance. In this case, it's just 2 of the notes from the Duduk melody and the evil brass flutter. The final bed to this track comes in the form of the Orchestra Elven Choir sustain vowels, creating a warmer, more harmonic context than at the beginning of the track. Again, thinking in contrasts, let's add a cold percussive layer to this section. Opening another instance of Action Strike's hits inside SFX Percussion, find some gritty textures and use the tune knob to find the sweet spot. Then turn them into a clockwork by creating an alternating pattern. If you want to further tweak your sounds, You can find them inside the group editor by looking at the highlighted names while hitting your notes of choice. There you can adjust their ADSR individually. The last part to understand about creating this atmosphere is what's often conceptually referred to as ear candy. In our case, we're going to layer the high tonal elements with some spooky notes out of the Chroma grand piano. Choosing the brush, the muted, and the E-bow technique, blending them together inside the instrument, we're going to tuck the result way back in the mix. This next one is very fun. Out of the Symphony series percussion, pick a cowbell. Then add 2 layers of pitched down versions of the sample, using the mix knob in your pitch shifter of choice, or just duplicate the track, blending the layers as individual ones. Create some nice rhythmic echoes for them using a stereo delay. You might want to add some filtering and saturation before sending it into the reverb. For climaxing moments, inside the orchestra effects, choose the FX string textures and build your own organic riser. Let's listen to the full track. We hope you enjoyed this tutorial. If you have any thoughts, feedback, or questions, feel free to leave them in the comment section below. Check out the Sonuscore shop linked in the description to find all the amazing libraries used in this video. For now, get creative, and we'll see you on the next one.